Hello and welcome, and many happy returns to all the men and women of the West. Here we go. Um, Today we're just going to be discussing character names. Now I have in front of me the Anglo-Saxon names list from Behind the Names. Behind the Name. Um, I really like this site. It's a great one, especially for Anglo-Saxon names, obviously. Now the thing is here is that I'm writing essentially a Beowulf Ivanhoe style traditional English novel. And that means I need more traditional English names. Now, a few of them I made up, but for the most part, I go here. I like to mostly use pre existing cultures and give them slight tweaks and twists in order to uh, kind of be a little different in minor ways than what they actually were to an extent. All this to fit with my novels and my universe, which I'm still in the midst of building large chunks of, and which is continuously evolving and has been since I first conceived it at 14. That said, uh, you find the culture you want to write about and you take the names from that culture. Making up names is not always easy. You can do it, but I've always found that it makes more sense to take pre-existing ones. That said, dragon names are in particular tricky, and I frequently use name generators and switch around features of names in order to come up with a name or two that I like. Or I borrow from classic mythology for the dragon's names. It generally varies for what I'm aiming for. The dragon itself, it has to have a particular nature that fits with the name I want. And for example, I also use certain ideas in the names that are representative of the dragon's name. For example, you might have Raisinth. He's raising a huge amount of countries and peoples on his journey from Brage to, well, Caledonia. Hence the name. Now you have Balthorth, which I kind of took, I think, the idea of baleful. Baleful, that kind of term. He's full of hostility towards all around him. You have the idea of Arndrick, which I kind of took the idea of Arnsiege, a kingdom in my world. Siege, I think, being somewhat the term for kingdom, and Arn is a popular first part of a name in Danish and Norwegian, going back to the Middle Ages. And, well, that kind of became the idea for one name, which was a heroic dragon, or two, because you have Arndrick the Elder and Arndrick the Younger. Then you have, you've got a couple of others. Blaurung, which is the giant wyvern, which appears in quite a few, well, tapestries and paintings of the Britians, or Anglo-Saxons of my world, was essentially killed by the Aethelred, the unifier, who unified the kingdom of Geweiss. So this Blaurung, who's a wyvern rather than a wingless dragon, like Glaurung from Tolkien, was obviously inspired by Glaurung, Morgoth's first dragon. I decided to make it a wyvern as I have very particular ideas in mind for wyverns. With Blaurung basically having tormented the shores of Bretwalda, the Lordly Isle, for quite some time. And Bretwalda itself is a term used for the High Kings of the island of Britain in the Middle Ages. And I decided to take that name and apply it to the island itself. So, you know, you get creative with some names for islands now, and for kingdoms. Kingdom names, though, are a rather more tricky thing. I typically go to mythology to look for names of locations and kingdoms, and I use those, or I go to etymology and look for different variants of names for actual countries or like fictional places in mythology, and I apply that to the actual uh, kingdom. That said, sometimes I just come up with a name. I don't know, it just comes up. You have Orient, which is one of the 12 kingdoms. You have Palmini, which is from Parmenia, which is from mythology itself. Valhalland, the Holy Empire of Valhalland, I came up with. I didn't I didn't really plan for that kingdom to be anything all that big, but I liked the term so much, so that it kept cropping up in my literature, and so I had to use it as an empire because I really liked the term. Well, the name. You have Neustria, which is from history, Neustri, which was the original name for the West Frankish kingdom, which later became France. You have Brise, which is the original term for Brittany. You have Eriu, from the original term for Ireland. You have Caledonia, the Roman name for Scotland. So a lot of these terms I end up reusing from history and mythology, and I don't know, it kind of fits. That said, it's going to be trickier the more east I go because I have to basically use Chinese characters and whatnot when I finally get into that part of my world. So until next time, best of luck with coming up with names. Names don't have to be very difficult to come up with for character names and whatnot. You, I generally follow the rule of keep it simple, and the most complicated ones you can think of are probably Elvish names, which there's a lot of resources online for that sort of thing, and you just need to look to your favorite fantasy authors to look at their Elvish names and see whether or not you like it. That being said, I also kind of look to, for example, some name sections from, say, Zelda, for example, and I'll go for Rory. Well, Fao. And then I go, okay, Faoray. Or, no, it's Faunway or something I'll come up with using another section of a name from Tolkien's elves and kind of connecting the two as one name. I haven't actually done that particular name, but it's an example. So, yeah, I'm now going to end the video because I think I've gone on long enough for names. If you want to know about other cultures, I think, and my thoughts on how to come up with them and their names, you can let me know. Generally, like I said, keep it simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. You could just play around a little with language and with sounds, and you'll probably come up with something interesting. So until next time, take care. And tell me in the comments what you think of my methods. You could also like and share the video and subscribe, of course, if you enjoy this sort of world building video. Oops, I'm having problems here. And, well, until next time.